Welcome to God Talk Improv. So let's get started with Dr. Andy. Welcome to the show.
Hey Doug, today we're going to talk about the question, if the Bible were on the big screen in a movie, would it be R-rated? Or would it maybe even be X-rated? Because I'm telling you, a lot of people want to whitewash the Bible and talk about Christian shows, and I'm all for that as far as family-friendly stuff. But the truth of the matter is, the Bible is a true story about the way life really is.
It has some X-rated parts in it, as we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. But first, this is God Talk Improv. Controversy and conversations surrounding theology, science, and worldview in an unplugged and spontaneous fashion.
And this is God Talk Improv, where we mix up science and faith in 15 minutes.
Now, in God Talk Improv, we don't edit, so whatever happens is stuck there. We don't do any whitewashing of the broadcast either. So this is the way it is, and it's raw. And speaking of raw and real and unplugged, the Bible is indeed unplugged.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we talked about when where Lot's daughters got him drunk and had sex with him, so they could continue the family line.
Yeah. So there are several examples. I want people to imagine. Okay, let's just take that example for a minute. Lot, who is Abraham's nephew, after they had separated out, Lot has two daughters, and there's a point in the Bible where it actually explains that Lot, they're alone in a cave and they're away from society as they've left.
And the daughters start talking to each other.
Yeah,
saying,
they say, hey,
there's no men around.
There's no men. We need a man. Hey, we have our father. He's getting old, but he's still okay, maybe he would work. Let's get him drunk and take advantage of him. So these two young girls get their father blasted, drunk, and then seduce him and have sex with him and get pregnant. Two further on the line, but I mean...
Oh, my goodness.
Now, could you imagine, okay, let's say that we're playing out the Bible as a movie. What's it going to show? I mean, if it really showed what happened, like movies do today, you would have a hot sex scene, incest, drunkenness, and people would say, "Oh my goodness, we can't have that." But the Bible would not be G-rated.
Well, movies will have to expand upon that. They don't, that's one of the better parts. In MTV, they always expand upon the worst scenes there is. So I would think they would have to expand upon that.
That would be a scene. And there are so many others. So my point is, in talking about this, is you see all kinds of movies that come out today that are quote-unquote Christian movies. But I'm talking about, Christian, people go see movies like God's Not Dead or... the ones that are all about the end times.
Right.
I'm blanking on the name, but movies that take Christian ideas and then turn those into a story. They may be a family story, or there's TV shows that are quote unquote Christian, and the whole idea is that they're family friendly, they're clean stories, there's no cursing, there's no sex,
like Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven is a TV show. Yeah.
Right.
There's an example of a TV show. It's a Christian TV show.
Yeah, we like this.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not saying I don't like those shows. Now, I love them for my family. I'm not trying to degrade those movies or make fun of them because I love them. My kids love them. They are things that I can go to and watch. But why I'm talking about this is atheists and skeptics and anti-Christian people, okay? The theologians of the world are out there saying things like, Christianity's just it's weak. It doesn't really have a real message. It's not true. It's not exciting. And all these bland movies are stupid, rated G. Life's not really like that. I'm saying, okay, we do make our fair share of corny movies, all right? I'll give you that. We make some corny movies that are Christian, and we sometimes do those things to promote clean values. But I'm saying... let's look at the Bible itself, though. What we're really basing it on is Scripture. That's what everything's based on. So if we took Scripture and made it into a major motion picture, I'm saying you couldn't even go to it if you're a Christian because the rating would be R or X. If you say, well, I won't go to R-rated movies, you couldn't watch the Bible. And the reason why that's important is that it's real, it's true, and that God's story is about real people dealing with real life stuff that's ugly. It's not pretty. It's not whitewashed. Now, if it would have been,
Right.
we wouldn't be believable.
Right. Well, give us
Right. So another example. Okay. What about when?
Well, how about let's keep with Lot. He was
Okay.
in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right before it was turned to salt and destroyed. Right.
And he had two angels that came and visited him. And the men of the city came and beating at his door and says, "Hey, we want to have sex with those men."
Homosexual sex.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to have sex with those men. And what did Lot do?
He said, No, you can't have these men. Don't do this thing," is what he said. He said, "But rather you can have my virgin daughters. Let me send them out to you.
Let me send my virgin daughters out to you."
That sounds like a phenomenal idea. I'm thinking, the angels can't handle themselves, but my daughters I'm going to throw to the wolves and let these guys. And they're like, "No, we don't want them. We want the men, the angels." Now, this has got homosexuality, rape, virgin sex. It's got, it's got every kind of, imagine the superlatives that would have been going. I'm sure they weren't talking nicely to each other, right?
Oh, well.
Can you imagine the words?
Just have sex with my daughters here. They're virgins.
And what's the movie going to show? The scene would be like, oh, well, we can't take our kids to that. That's X-rated. That's R-rated. But that's the Bible. That's what I'm trying to say. The very thing that all of our faith is based on is R-rated and sometimes X because it's real. Okay, another example.
Wait. How about, that's kind of implied, right? That's not nearly as direct.
Okay, Deuteronomy 25:13. We'll look at it. While I'm looking that up, I want to talk about one of the most famous stories of sex and scandal is David and Bathsheba. Now, if that were to play out on film, you'd have David lusting after this woman who's
seeing
naked,
a woman naked,
right?
taking a bath on the next,
looking over. He just happens to be up on the roof,
looking at the tops of other roofs, So he's sort of a peeping Tom.
Yeah, and he's checking her out, and then he decides, I think that's what I want. He's already got several wives.
And she's an exhibitionist because she's...
Right, she's doing that.
Why would she be out on her roof taking a bath?
Right, and just happens to be where he can see. And then they start this love affair. And then not only that, after they have sex and she conceives, he then murders her husband. Now, does that sound like a plot of
it's so wholesome.
A movie?
So wholesome.
It's a wholesome story. So we can't take our kids to see that. And you're like, that's the Bible. All right, here's one. Deuteronomy 25:13. You must not have two different weights in your bag, one heavy and one light. Okay, go before that.
Yeah, 25:12.
Says, if two men are fighting with each other, and the wife of one steps in to rescue her husband from the one striking him, and she puts out her hand and grabs his genitals, which I'm assuming is, scrotum.
Yeah.
You are to cut off her hand. You must not show pity.
Show her no mercy.
You must show her no mercy, no pity. You must not have two different weights in your bag, one heavy and one light. Right. So this is describing asymmetric testicles.
Well, why in the world is that even a thing?
I don't know. I'm curious. Why would But can you imagine this scene, this violent scene where she's grabbing this guy by the scrotum, right?
Yeah.
This is the Bible. We can't show that scene because it's R-rated. All right. We talked about David and Bathsheba. Noah got drunk at one point. He was depressed after they got back on dry land. He gets totally drunk, and he's laying out there wasted, naked. And his sons come up, and there's a scene where one son is looking upon his naked father, and the other son covers him up and says that's disgraceful. Again, R-rated. If you show the movie, wouldn't be able to watch that. That would actually be an X-rated scene because you'd actually see nudity. And then we got the story of Judah, which is really a classic story. Judah, remember, one of the sons of one of the 12 sons of Jacob, Joseph's brother. Mm-hmm. He goes off, and Judah doesn't live a very wholesome life to begin with. He's not. And remember, from the line of Judah, we just did our interview with with Limbaugh, he talked about that's one of the things in the Old Testament. From the line of Judah, that's where David comes from, where Jesus comes from. So Jesus Christ, God incarnate, comes from the line of Judah. And let me tell you about Judah. This is the line he chose to come from. Judah lost his wife, and he's out one day in another town, and this girl comes up to him and acts to be a prostitute, has a veil over her face, and she comes on to him and says, hey, if you'll give me this and that, I'll give you a good time. So Judah goes with this girl. It says that he copulated with her, and it describes it in the Bible, and this girl was his daughter-in-law.
What?
Yeah. His daughter-in-law was his dead son's wife. And he goes, and so this is it'd be like if Fox married a woman and then you had sex with her. That's what it is, his daughter-in-law.
Okay.
So he does that, and then later it comes back on him because she realizes, she's holding this against him to get what she wants, basically. So she's doing this on purpose to get out of him what she wants. So she keeps his ring and all these things, his signet ring, so she can later say, hey, I'm the one that, see, she had her face covered and he didn't see her. So there's another scene. You can't watch that one. That's R-rated. That's an R-rated, probably X-rated scene, and it's straight out of Genesis.
That's actual describing scene, not, we were talking about New Testament. Were there anything in the New Testament about that was X-rated or anything? There's only the one, it says husbands. What is that? Where husbands?
Well, it gives, it talks about
it's just
how you should have, how wives should take care of their husbands sexually.
Right.
That's in there, yeah. Now, Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon, here it says, your lips are like a scarlet cord, your mouth is lovely, it goes on, behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David. Your breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that feed among the lilies. Before the day breaks and the shadows flee, I will make my way to the mountain. So again, descriptions here of anatomical. This is a love letter, and it gets pretty descriptive at times. So, you wouldn't be able to display this at a movie theater. If you're going to play the whole story of the Bible, it would not be G-rated. And it wouldn't be PG either.
Not by any means.
No, so if you're not able to go to our movies, you wouldn't be able to watch the Bible unfold. Now, while we're saying this again, before we end, the Bible is a true story that God is revealing himself to humanity. It's not man's search for God, it's God's search for man. He's revealing himself through Holy Scripture, but it's true because it's exactly the way life is. If this book would be all about perfect life and no problems and there's no sex, there's no violence, there's no war. We didn't even get into the violence. Let's think about that. We were just talking about sex things. What about all the violence and blood?
We had, one famous movie is The Passion of Christ. I already mentioned it. Mm-hmm. That's about as violent as you can get.
Absolutely, and that one is R-rated.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we're almost up to 15 minutes, so we have to cut it off. This is God Talk Improv, where there's no editing. So if there are mistakes, they're still there. But God Talk Improv is controversy and conversation surrounding theology, science, and the world in an unplugged and spontaneous fashion.
Is it?
Please visit our website at godtalk.com. Our audio files can be found on iTunes, SoundCloud, and many other podcast platforms. You can find all of our God Talk videos by searching Dr. Andy and Doug on YouTube. Please visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Dr. Andy and Doug. Thank you for listening.